For those of you who haven't been around since the Kristin Smart Murder Trail, let me explain. I'm deeply connected to this case. No one else is covering it, and I want full documentation beginning to end. It's also a tribute to Kristin. I covered her case here, the full trial, and there's a playlist here with other tidbits related to the case. This murder happened in my local area, and let us not forget that Kristin has never been recovered. Hashtag find Kristin Smart. The day has finally come where Paul Flores and his new attorney have filed the promised appeal. Right after the verdict, we were told that they would be appealing. Let's cover the details here. On October 21st, 2024, the appeal was filed in appellate court, alleging Paul's 14th Amendment rights were violated. The appellate brief alleges a series of errors, specifically highlighting Juror 273. It states she was biased based on emotional outbursts, anxiety attacks. She discussed the case with friends and bailiffs. She admitted that she wavered on being neutral during the trial. The defense did request that she was removed during the trial, which was denied since the jurors said she could still be fair and impartial. According to the brief, if a single juror lacks the ability to be fair and impartial, the resulting conviction violates the accused's constitutional rights and requires per se reversal. The brief argues that there was no evidence that Paul S.A.'d Kristin Smart. Sorry, I have to use these words, otherwise YouTube will not put the videos out, and I want people to know about what's going on. They call out highly prejudiced testimony from two women claiming Paul drugged and S.A.'d them. Trevor Bolter's witness testimony was listed as, quote, improper opinion testimony, end quote, calling it hearsay and not admissible. The appeal complains about the ball gag photo submitted as evidence at trial. As you recall, Paul drugged a lady from the bar, S.A.'d her, filmed and photographed it, complete with ball gag in her mouth, as she was unconscious, which was all shown to the jury. The appeal claims various prejudicial errors, which significantly increase chances of a first-degree murder verdict based on attempted RAPE of an intoxicated person. Paul's appeal requests a reversal of the verdict or at least reduce conviction to second-degree murder. November 10th is the latest for San Luis Obispo District Attorney to respond to the appeal, which is 20 days from when the appeal was filed. It's been 2 years since Paul's conviction. Wow, time flies. Probably not for him. He basically wants a retrial. The brief is 105 pages long and filed in the 2nd District Court of Appeal in Ventura, California. Solomon Wollock from Pleasant Hill is his latest attorney, no more Mr. Sanger. Speaking of Mr. Sanger, some thought that ineffective counsel would be a reason for appeal because of Sanger's fumbling and bumbling at times during the trial. But that's not mentioned. Here's more details on juror number 273. She had an emotional outburst mid-trial, 2 mid-trial anxiety attacks. She specifically blamed on the defense counsel. She improperly discussed the case with others. And during an archaeologist's testimony discussing the dig in the backyard and the process of human decomposition relating to soil, juror 273 interrupted testimony and said, quote, Your Honor, I need a break, end quote. An immediate break was called, and at the time the defense counsel cited it as, quote, major disruption, wanting her dismissal. The court decided she was capable of keeping an open mind. The first mid-trial anxiety attack happened approximately a month before the juror's emotional outburst. During Stephen Fleming's, who is Kristin's former classmates, during his cross-examination, juror number 273 expressed experiencing anxiety due to the aggressiveness of the cross-examination. Apparently, juror number 273's parents were both in law enforcement, and Stephen, the witness, was also former law enforcement. So the defense claimed that she's biased, and that's why she complained about how aggressive Singer was being. Again, Singer requested that juror 273 was removed, and again, the judge denied the request. The juror's second mid-trial anxiety attack was later in the trial, during the controversial Jennifer Hudson testimony. I've already expressed how I feel about Jennifer's testimony. I feel like it was more harmful than helpful. But anyway, back to juror 273. She passed a note asking for a short break due to anxiety once again because Sanger was aggressively cross-examining Jennifer Hudson. At that time, Singer again requested discharge of juror number 273, citing, quote, a pattern of bias against the defense, end quote. Again, the judge denied the request. The appeal also raised concerns with juror number 273's Pinterest page and discussing the case with others. She posted on her Pinterest page gardening tips, including soil pH. The juror claimed the post was pre-trial, and she denied she did any of her own online research. Juror number 273 admitted knowing people who listened to the podcast on the case, but discouraged discussions with them on the matter. So the defense then claimed that her statement proves she must have discussed her involvement in the case. Again, Sanger requested that she be removed, and again the judge denied, citing, quote, it would be strange if no one knew why she had missed so much work due to the trial. That's actually a good point. The brief claims there's no evidence that Paul S.'d Kristin. The brief claims the court made more errors allowing prejudicial testimony from the two women claiming Paul drugged and raped them, later compounding its errors by allowing a lay witness to testify without adequate foundation that Kristin seemed like she was drugged the night she was killed based on the witness's experience of he himself being given a date rape drug. The brief goes on to claim the prosecution never presented any evidence showing premeditation. They complain about the, quote, especially inflammatory photograph to portray appellant as a sexual predator, though the court did not admit the photograph for character purposes, end quote. A final argument states, quote, the trial court gave two erroneous instructions on attempted rape of an intoxicated person, used by the prosecution as a target crime for his, parentheses Flores, first-degree felony murder theory. The misinstructions had the effect of removing the specific intent element of attempt and allowing jurors to find an attempted rape of an intoxicated person so long as a reasonable person would have known Smart was too intoxicated to resist. Wow, that was a little confusing. Paul's attorney is asking for reversal or reduction to second-degree murder. As we know, Paul was a suspect for over 25 years and was the last person to see her alive. The trial took 3 months and Kristin is still missing. Paul was sentenced to 25 years to life, and Judge Jennifer O'Keefe has already denied motions for new trial multiple times already. He's currently at Corcoran State Prison, where he was moved after 2 separate knife attacks at Pleasant Valley Prison. According to Don Dow, he has no comment, adding, the appeal will be handled by California Attorney General's office, not his. I've never heard of that. The appeal claims Paul's 6th and 14th Amendment rights were violated. Let's see what people on Reddit have to say. These comments are about the Los Angeles DA letting Paul get away with multiple sexual assaults. Photos, videos, DNA, and witness victim statements are all part of the proof, yet no charges were filed. He even had CSAM, formerly known as child porn, on his computer, Yet still no charges. I've never heard of such a thing. It's just gross, and he's disgusting. This comment by Dr. Rocker MD gets me fired up, as Paul possessed C-Sam with 0 consequences. Truthout says LA is negligent for not filing charges. This comments on all that evidence that the LA DA has proving Paul's assaults, C-Sam, etc. And the appeal calls the proof as prejudicial? Give me a break. I've already done this, and if you're compelled to, please write or call the DA and demand charges against Paul Flores for these additional charges. I've reviewed all 105 pages of the appellant brief, case number B329873. Here's the table of contents. My review has covered the appeal grounds. There were some things in review that I'm going to refresh on. The night Paul killed Kristin, he drank a 20-ounce beer, a 22-ounce beer, and that was before he even went to the Crandall Way party, where he encountered Kristin. Once he was there, he drank 8 more beers from the keg. Paul said Kristin introduced herself to him, and Paul said he didn't interact with her beyond that at the party, which is contrary to everybody else that was at the party. This was all covered in court testimony. He said Kristin seemed drunk, but didn't say how drunk. He didn't recall how he ended up joining Kristin in her group. He said Kristin walked fine on her own. He hugged her twice to keep her warm, and he did not even think she was attractive. All these things are contradictory, by the way. He played dumb for not escorting Kristin safely to her dorm. Paul said he barfed and showered and, of course, lied about the black eye that he got that night, and so on. All these details are in my case coverage. Check the playlist for those episodes. I'm surprised how weak and basic this appeal is. Appeals are extremely common with first-degree murder convictions, with only approximately 7% of them being successful. And realize that just means another chance at a trial anyway. So, during the trial, it was clear that California law allows evidence of previous SAs, including arrest for sex crimes, even if no charges filed or if they were later dismissed. 29 women in total accused Paul of sexual misconduct. Why would the court be obligated to keep his dirty little secrets? Back in June of 2024, errors at the lab used in Kristin's case made the news. Hundreds of cases could be upended because of these errors. An employee set an inaccurate instrument setting from January of 2017 through January of 2022. Dan Dow, the slow DA, said the case was not built on DNA evidence, and he expected the appeal to mention the lab errors, which I thought the same thing, but we were both wrong. It wasn't mentioned at all. I'll be sure to update you after the 11/10/2024 court hearing. #find Kristin Smart.